Hi everyone, I wanted to do a quick video today to go over some of the basics of a compare and contrast essay organization. There's really two organizational models we can use, and I'm going to illustrate those for you quickly since I do teach a face-to-face class pretty soon. So I'm going to open a blank document here and draw these out for you, write these out for you. So the first organizational strategy is a subject by subject structure. I'm always a little rough at typing early in the morning, so please forgive me. So in the subject by subject comparison, the essay structure is still the same. You start with the introduction, and remember, for the introduction, there's a couple things I want you to do. I want you to define community A. Well, let's start this differently. Define the issue. Define community A. Define community B. Express in thesis format which community is approaching the issue in a positive manner. And what I mean by this, that still follows that subject plus opinion formula that we have for a thesis. So if you think about this, you could state something along the lines of community B has a better plan for addressing this issue. Notice I'm being vague because your issue might be anything than community A. And after that, you would have to show then in your paper, you would have to show me through illustrations, narrations, definitions, all of those things we've talked about this semester. You would have to illustrate that for me. So in the body sections, you have the option in this format to divide it based on community A. And then your subtopics would be issue, impact on community A, issues, history in community A, how community A is addressing said issue. And then you would transition into community B and repeat issues, impact on community B, issues, history in community B, how community B is addressing said issue. And then you would have a third paragraph where you would contrast the approaches to addressing the issue. And in that one, convince, your goal would be to convince the reader that one community is approaching the issue in a superior fashion. For that, you would need statistics. This would be a good place for graphs and charts. And you would need to explain those graphs and charts. Notice this is still keeping the comparison and contrast structure. And then you would transition into your conclusion, which would be a reiteration of the thesis, an argument for the adoption of, that should be an argument, one of the community's approaches, the importance of solving the issue. And that's it. That's the subject-to-subject comparison structure. Now, the second organizational structure we have is point by point comparison. And this starts off the same way. So we would actually have the same, let me undo that. For some reason it's been wonky with how it will let me copy things. We would start off at the beginning, would start off the same way, but then our body section would actually be different. Our body section would be based on the points instead of the subjects. So we would go body section would be point 1, and that can be the issue examined in community A, examined in community B. This would be a good place for a narration or a description. And then you would have point 2, impact. And then you would examine, or actually better, explain in community B, explain in community A. And then you would have point 3, which would be solutions, explain in community A, explain in community B, and this is a good place for graphs and charts. Be sure you explain those. And then you would have your conclusion, which follows the same pattern as previously stated in the subject by subject. So really your argument only exists in this paper. The argument only exists in the tone and also in the introduction and conclusion. The majority of the paper is developing the comparison, the comparison between the two items, in this case the two communities, and how they're approaching your issue. So this is the two different ways. I'm going to separate out the pages so that they're a little easier to follow. I'm going to save this for you and upload it so that we have this in your notes. Organizational strategies, compare and contrast essay. So you have it available to you online along with this video. Hopefully this helps those students that in my face-to-face classes had to miss today, and this also will help those students who are present review as they're writing, and it'll help online students immensely since this is an online lecture. So if you have any questions, email me, and I will attempt to answer them as quickly as possible. And